Like my shirt.
Smart people get offended.
Don't get offended.
Oh, don't get offended.
Yeah, you took your glasses off. That's why you couldn't read it.
That's true. Well, I started noticing that on the on our video, like I see glare from the window on my glasses, so it looks like I'm like mirrored aviators on. And also because we just came in from outside taking a little break, I have the transitions like the old man glasses, so they're like dark, and I'm like, I don't want to look like that.
You know those slightly tinted shooting glasses, like the old school, like the
yellow.
Yeah, the yellow or like rose colored. Mm-hmm. Apparently, those are really good for helping with anxiety.
Orange colored glasses.
Yeah, so it does something with the. Look, I'll get my son's ophthalmologist to come in here and give an explanation of it. But
I mean, I won't understand.
Well, he's been having these kind of like these weird. I think that are temporal lobe seizures.
Okay,
right? Because the symptomology is very parallel with my dad. But we've gone to the hospital, we've done the MRI, or we did a CT. He still has to do an MRI, meet with neurology, meet with his primary care, stuff like that. But he went to the ophthalmologist to make sure it wasn't an eye issue. She's like, yeah, there's apparently these studies where these slightly tinted glasses actually help reduce anxiety and stuff like that. And he also has astigmatism. So at night, like everything looks all jacked up. Like I could only imagine him getting pulled over in the middle of the night, like flashing lights like that would just send him into an actual seizure with astigmatism. But so he wears those. It actually reduces the effects of the astigmatism, but it also keeps his ass calmed down because these little episodes that he's having, like these little, I'm just going to call them the temporal lobe seizures, they're causing him to have a little bit of anxiety where any physiological change, he's like, oh God, what is it? Like he's getting a little anxious about it, but it's helping. He says it is.
That's interesting. I have never thought anything of colored sunglasses, except for like, they're for hippies and probably for when you're getting high.
I remember the Miami Vice one, the video that we use for recruits. It's the El Presidente, why you got to get their hands all the way up. Do you remember that video?
No.
Gino used to use that video all the time.
Okay.
And they actually use an old, he's old now. I mean, he's probably dead, but it was a episode of Miami Vice, and the hitman was dressed as like a butler or like a valet or something like that. And so they order him to get his hands up, but he does the El Presidente, like that, just the arms up a little bit. And then in real time, he does an El Presidente draw and like fires off 3 rounds. But they had hired this IPSC shooter to play that role, right? And so that was real time, real speed. Mm-hmm. And Gino was able to break it down frame by frame. It goes like this. You can see the guy pull up the shirt, grab the gun, and then all of a sudden the next frame, the gun's already here. And then next frame, gun's up and the slide's already back, ejecting the first round. Like he's already squeezing off rounds, right? Mm-hmm. And just how fast people can draw from that position, right? Yeah. So that's the video that he used to explain why we need to put hands all the way up, right? But he goes, so what do you guys see? What are the pre-fight indicators? And of course, all of us dumb recruits were like, I don't know. He goes, he's got shooting glasses on. You never trust a motherfucker with shooting glasses on. And I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah. You just walk around wearing yellow tinted shooting glasses all the time.
I see yellow tinted shooting glasses or Carhartts anymore. I'm like, oh, you're a bad guy.
Oh, yes. The Carhartts, that's a real thing. Too many years of using that as like the hitman apparel.
We actually had to stop using Carhartts in canine training because the dogs started queuing on Carhartt stuff. So like during the winter, people would be wearing Carhartts. You drive by some dude wearing a Carhartt overalls, and the dog would just lose their shit. Like, I gotta bite him. It's like, okay, we're gonna have to figure something out here. So,
oh, that's funny. So, do you follow any of like the current local events at all? Like news things a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Enough.
So, there's a couple ladies who are, I don't know how they wanted to describe themselves as far as their advocacy efforts. They're pretty loud and they're critical of the government. Good. I think people should be critical of the government.
They drive Subarus.
I don't know.
You know they drive Subarus.
If I did know, I would tell you.
With a lot of stickers.
I know one of them probably could be getting arrested by a federal agency for impeding ICE at some point.
I'm for it.
Arresting or impeding ICE?
arresting her for impeding ice.
Yes.
Look, like I get the plight of the immigrant side of things. Like, obviously, my daughter is an immigrant. My wife was an immigrant. Right. I get it. Like, and, you know, obviously we're really hard on my daughter about doing it the right way. Right. Yeah. And she is going through the right way. And then her baby daddy is doing it the right way. Fine. So I'm a real stickler on, you know, like, no, you're going to do everything the right way. Yeah. Right. Period. End of story. Right. So I have no problem with people doing it the right way. Is when you think that you're so important just because you've done something long enough that then you should get away with it. It's kind of like, well, I've been doing insurance fraud for 20 years. Shit. Like, why am I getting arrested for it? Right. You know, like, so, but then the other side of that is the suicidal compassion, suicidal empathy is, I get that you feel bad for these people. I understand that. And I get that we don't want to have families separated. Totally understand that. And my heart breaks for the families that do get separated. However, you and I both have separated hundreds of families by sending people to prison for doing bad shit. Right? So at the end of the day, I go, well, yeah, that sucks. At the same time, you did a thing. You knew you were doing the thing. So you're intentionally, knowingly doing this thing. 2 of the culpable mental states involved in any crime. And then you chose another action to then get you into more freaking trouble. This is just called consequences, motherfucker. That's how life works.
Yeah. Well, so we kind of got a little sidetracked there. No worries. The suicidal empathy and the consequences. One of the things that this person was bringing up is Washington County has been highlighting that they are going back to everybody goes to jail.
Yes.
There's a big push on, especially like retail theft. That's a big push right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny to hear from people in the business that are upset. Like, wait, you're pushing for people to arrest everyone again. Everyone's got to go to jail, even if they're just booked and immediately released. And we're also at these critical staffing levels and sometimes have to turn people away. We can't do it. Yeah. So Washington County right now is like, no, we're going back to arresting everybody.
Cool.
At the same time, there's stories like Vancouver, Clark County area that are not arresting anymore for certain low-level misdemeanors because there's not enough public defenders.
Yeah.
So things are going completely unchecked. It was like, well, you were already out of the business in the COVID days, and that was like wild of just like no accountability, like not being able to arrest anyone or only give people tickets. Well, this gal's complaint was any low-level theft, people should not be arrested. Everyone should be given a ticket and allowed to arrange time with their families, arrange time with work, not disrupt them to handle this every time. That these should not be arrestable offenses. They should all be tickets and handled down the line. And what kind of came up in me is I was like, there is the reason it came up in me is she said, because they're only stealing because they are poor and trying to take care of their families.
Yeah, because stealing TVs is what you need.
There was just like, it seemed like she had this massive assumption that everyone who commits theft is in this this state.
That's where like suicidal empathy and suicidal compassion. Okay, cool. You've bought into that particular narrative because someone said it. All right, let's zoom out just a minute because I have to go on a tangent. Do you remember the Milgram experiment from school? Talking about it? Okay.
I'm a principal guy. I don't remember specifics.
Milgram is the one he was a Yale professor, right? And he set up a lab at Yale where they had these participants come in. Now, the other people in the room with the participant were actually part of the study. They were what's called Confederates. Basically, they're in the know, right? But they're playing as if they don't know what's going on, right? So, for example, you're a participant. I am a Confederate. I'm part of this. I know what's about to happen, but I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to act just like a participant, just like you. So I'm like, hey man, how'd you get roped into this? I got roped into this too, and all this other stuff. I'm like, I don't know what the hell we're going to do, but whatever. So they're going to come get us. We're going to go back into this room, and there's this dude in the white lab coat, and I go into a room, and I basically get strapped to what looks like an electric chair, right? You go into another room, right? And they close the curtain. And then there's this big panel of buttons and stuff like that. And they're like, all right, we're going to ask the guy sitting in the chair a series of questions. When he gets one wrong, you're going to press this button, right? It's going to give him a small electrical shock. Okay. So the first, couple times you hit it, I'm like, yeah, I felt that, but then every single time I get it wrong, you have to crank up the volume on this thing, right? I'm not actually getting shocked. I'm just screaming for the sake of it. Now we're getting to the point where you're taking it and cranking it all the way over into the red, where it's like says danger zone, like lethal and stuff like that. And people are still pressing the button, right? They don't want to, but they're like, I don't really want to hit the button because this could kill him. The guy in the white lab coat will just go, you have to follow the instructions as we've given them to you. And then the guy will press the button. So what he found, he was actually trying to study why the Nazis did what they did. And then their excuse was, I was just following orders, right? That's what he was trying to understand, why they could get away with doing, why they could rationalize doing these atrocious things to other people, right? And be okay with that, right? So he figured out that, if there's like this person that you believe to be a person of authority, you can rationalize, well, they must know what they're doing. And then you do the horrible thing anyway, right? So then he ran the experiment a bunch of other times and changed the location, changed a different variable. Like it went from being on the Yale campus to now being out in town near Yale. And then they took away the white lab coat, switched it with a gray one. And then they took the lab coat away altogether. And then they had two participants. So both of us, neither one of us know what's going on. We're the ones in that room. I'm reading you the instructions and reading the questions. The guy in the other room, he's the Confederate. He's the one who's just playing the screaming and all the other stuff, right? And what they found is that the less of a position of authority that you think that I'm in, the less likely it is that you're going to believe or do what I ask you to do. Does this make sense?
Yeah, you got to say that one more time.
Okay. If you think I'm in a position of authority, right, you're more likely to rationalize something that goes against your values and press that button that's going to electrically shock me to the point of potential death.
Okay.
Right? Whereas when we finally degrade that to the point where it's just two schmoes, right? And I'm like, it says you got to follow the directions. You're not going to press that button because you're like, this isn't a guy of authority.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Now, we zoom forward a few decades, and Nancy Pelosi was up giving a speech when she was still Speaker of the House, and she described what they call the wrap-up smear, which is the wrap-up smear is where a politician will make a claim against somebody, right? They'll get the news to report it. And she lines this all out in the press conference. I'm surprised she said this shit out loud. But she says, now that you're getting it from two people of authority, the politician and the news media are both reporting on it. Therefore, the public is more likely not to believe it and go with that story, go with that narrative. Okay. So things like that, where I believe that the people are stealing simply because they're poor or simply because they don't have things, that they're stealing groceries or that they're stealing things that are absolutely necessary, which in my experience in law enforcement, they very rarely are, right? And I've only seen that once. In all of the theft cases I've had, there was only one time, and it was with Matt S. Blind Matt.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sight for sore eyes, Matt.
Yeah. So before he went blind, there was a case where dude actually went and found all of the cheapest things within a grocery store and then tried to sneak out with it. It was truly because he had zero money. Now, Matt cited him, right, but then went back in and paid with his own money to buy all that guy's groceries so that way his kids could actually eat that night, right? That's a case where I go, yep, you're poor.
Yeah.
Totally get that one. All the other cases I've taken, they're not stealing food. They're stealing shit they don't actually need.
Oh, yeah, like, God, in 22 years, stealing food was maybe less than a handful of the hundreds of theft cases that I handled.
Right.
And
if it is food, it's like a Kit Kat bar or something.
Well, no, it was, I was thinking actual food, and it was like high quality steaks.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it's like, okay, you're stealing the top of the line stuff, and they had money in their pocket too.
Right.
And
yeah.
so there's a lot of factors that go into why people could steal, but it baffled me why she could be so stuck on this is the only reason people steal, and therefore everyone has to get a ticket
Right.
and not be taken to jail.
But that is the Milgram experiment being used against her.
Because somebody told her, somebody of authority says, this is the way it is.
I think the general public looks at a lot of the psychology experiments, like Milgram experiment or the Stanford prison experiment or the Bobo doll or any of the other ones that we know about society and stuff like that. I think people look at those and they go, okay, I can understand that. But I don't think that they go, how could the government or those in authority, the media, the government, whoever, how could they use that against me? And so when Nancy Pelosi came out and gave this detailed explanation of the wrap-up smear, right, she perfectly described the Milgram experiment being used through the government and the media on us. Mm-hmm. So she is the victim, as much as I hate that word, she's the victim of narrative manipulation based off the principles of Milgram's experiment.
Okay.
So she believes this to be true. Why? Because someone that she perceives to be of authority and of knowledge said it. And so therefore, well, it must be true if they're saying it. So AOC, Bernie Sanders, or whoever, like, they're just stealing food. It's, it's just because they're poor and they're downtrodden and all. They go, we have to, give compassion to them and all this other crap. Okay. They said it. The media repeated it. She goes, oh, there's two sources. They even said that's what's happening, right?
Yeah, it seems like she has not had conversations with people that have skin in the game, whether it's the cops or the businesses that can describe, like, yeah, that's not actually what we're seeing.
Right.
And so she's stuck on people are only stealing for their poor and they deserve this kind of treatment.
Yes. And don't get me wrong. We need to have compassion for those who don't have resources. I get it. The same time, I go, well, then what are we doing? What are you actually doing to try to mitigate that? What are you trying to do to dig yourself out of that hole? Right. Because I'm a huge meritocracy person. Like, you get what you deserve, right? You get what you earn, right? And we can thank the Marine Corps for kind of building that in me, right? And I can give you that story later, but it's whatever you earn is truly yours. That what is given to you can be taken away. And if you take it, right, without it actually being yours, right? Yeah, there's got to be consequences for this shit.
Yeah.
Now, what people also don't understand is businesses, we've got to pay insurance, right? The insurance I carry as a therapist is very different than the insurance I carried when I owned the gym, right? So shortly after all of the pandemic crap and whatnot, and all the riots, the Summer of Love, right? Remember the George Floyd stuff during COVID and whatnot.
That was the Summer of Love?
Allegedly. That's
again, it's Summer of burning dumpster fires.
Nancy Pelosi gives me a lot of good one-liners, right? So, so she said, oh, it's going to be the Summer of Love. Yeah, the riots everywhere and billions of dollars in destruction across the nation, right? So that, oh shit, where was I going? Because the dog just distracted me. My insurance rate went up 15% every year after that.
Okay.
Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And I called my insurance guy. I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I paying this? This is what I paid for the other years prior. Why is it going up so much? He goes, well, you can thank all the rioters downtown because every one of those businesses went and ran their insurance claims for their busted windows and their stolen product and their damaged product and all the other things. So now all those insurance companies are having to pay for that. So now the rest of us who weren't even a part of it, who aren't even in downtown Portland, we're having to pay the price for that behavior.
Yeah.
And so what people don't understand is, like, little things matter. And you may think it's just a candy bar. It's not going to hurt anybody. You may think it's just a MP3 player or it's just something, a game or whatever. No, that's got a trickle up effect that ultimately hurts the manufacturers. It hurts the employees of the manufacturers. It hurts the seller, the retailer. And then it hurts all of the other businesses that have to have a very similar insurance policy. And so, like, we're so, is the term myopic? Where we're focused on this tiny little thing, but we're not looking at the bigger picture. Like, we're so like, oh, this poor guy. but we're not taking into consideration how his bad decision here is negatively impacting all of these other people that had absolutely nothing to do with this shit. And so when it comes down to, yeah, you need to be arrested. You're going to have to pay restitution on this. You're going to have to do these things. I'm for it. Why? Because actions have consequences. Now, by arresting poor people, putting them in jail, are we perpetuating the problem? Absolutely. Because now we've embattled them in the court system, which is going to cause them fines. It's going to cost them all this other stuff. Are they going to be able to always make parole or probation? Probably not. They're probably going to violate. They're going to get cycled again. So we have a tendency to kind of perpetuate these cycles. So don't get me wrong. As far as criminal justice reform goes, yeah, we need to figure out how to break these repetitive cycles. With all the fines and all the other fees you got to pay for diversions and probation and piss tests and all the other stuff. Because I think that's what continues to, keep the problem going. But at the end of the day, like, there has to be a consequence. And if there's not a consequence, well, it's the broken window theory.
Yeah.
Right? Break one window, break a second window. Now the whole place looks trashed. Right? Attention to detail matters. And the details always fucking matter.
Yeah, I remember a couple of times when we were in the phases of not really arresting people for low-level crimes, just giving them tickets.
The California model.
Yeah. This dude just went up and down TV Highway and would just go to 3 or 4 different stores and just go in, steal beers, steal food, and just move on to the next one. And I mean, it wasn't because he was just poor and hungry. He was also high and probably mentally ill. And so it wasn't until the second or third store in about hour and a half that is called in saying he's stealing, he's walking out the door eating our product right now, that we had to call the jail and beg for permission. Like, this guy doesn't get it. Like, we can only give so many tickets.
Well, remember during COVID, you guys were citing and releasing DVs. I know there was one agency that was doing it. South Cities.
DV harassment?
DV harassment, yeah, primarily, but like obviously DV assault 4 is a mandatory arrest. Yeah. But even then, some of those, the jail's like, no room. And so they would cite in lieu and drive them to another place to go stay. Oh.
Well, at least we got around that of like, okay, they're not going to hold some of the DV assault 4s, that they're the mandatory arrests. Okay, fine. But we have to get them in so we get a no contact release agreement kind of thing. Because if you just cite them out in the field, there's no teeth if they have a contact with their victim.
Yeah. And, there's so many things. Like, obviously, the pandemic made things go by so quick, right? Like, there were so many evolutions to it that I wish someone had had the foresight to go, okay, who do we have to? We should probably get all the cops on the road, the permission or the authority to, how like I can swear you to a PC affidavit.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like that, but for those release agreements. So then, give them the release agreements, give them all the copies, just like we carried all the copies of DMV crash reports and shit. Yeah. And so therefore you could fill that out right there. Go, look, here's your ticket. You're in custody. Here's your release agreement. You're no longer allowed to have contact. They should have done that.
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously 2020 vision of hindsight.
Well, I mean, I remember that idea coming up, and it obviously never came into fruition. I wonder if that's because it has to be through the courts. It's kind of like by somebody sworn through the courts, like a court release officer at the jail is different than a deputy, because we're like law enforcement versus somebody from the courts. Because I really don't know
the jail deputies are the ones that fill that thing out.
But they're
the ones doing the release.
Yeah, but that's the part the process I don't understand. Is it because they're in the jail and the courts have function there, because they don't necessarily have the function out on patrol? If there's a law around that.
Given that we took that class, that gives us the authority and the power to swear each other to each other's affidavit, right? That makes us officers of the court. So if we have that authority, wouldn't it make sense that we also would have the authority to swear someone to a release agreement?
Oh yeah, no, it totally makes sense, and I have no idea why.
Because I would cite that in my report. At this date and time, I served this person with this piece of paperwork. I had them raise their right hand. I observed their right hand up in the air, and they swore to this oath, which I put in there verbatim. Right? Okay, I've documented it.
Yeah,
it's going to the same place anyway. Yeah, it's like obviously 2020 vision of hindsight. There's a lot of things that could have been done way freaking better.
Oh yeah, well, I'm kind of curious how things are going to go because you look at the stories of downtown Portland and the businesses are just emptying out, and it's
bad.
becoming looking like Detroit in some spots.
Anyways, we diverted.
Oh yeah,
2 chicks that drive Subarus, and one of them's
yes. Well, I mean that was just, and I get why being nice feels good. Taking care of other people and being nice to them feels good. But how do you get this like psychological function that attaches to being nice no matter what, that you can't see any other aspect of those situations?
because one, these are probably people that never got told no as a child. And I make that's a tongue-in-cheek joke. I genuinely believe that we have sacrificed virtue signaling for actual virtue. One of the most loving things I can do is sometimes hurt your feelings. For example, best friend of 24 years. I love him to death. We've been through a lot together, right? We recently had a misunderstanding, I suppose, is the best way we could put it, right? And I went to address that issue with him, right? I had to call him out on his behavior, right? That hurt him. I know it hurt him. How do I know it hurt him? He immediately got defensive, right? That's the only reason, you would get defensive, is that I've said something that hurts you. Okay, right? But it is my hope, and because this has happened between us before, like 24 years, we've gone through ups and downs and whatnot, right? But I have to tell you the truth, and sometimes that truth is going to hurt you. You're not acting right. You've done this, you've aggrieved me in this way, or you've offended me in these ways, or whatever the case may be, right? And I'm giving you an opportunity to acknowledge it, own it, fix it right here in this moment, right? He chose not to, it's fine. But then we both had to leave essentially with some hurt feelings in the process, right? That was one of the most loving things I could have done for him, is go, you're kind of acting like a dick right now. And I don't know why. And I don't know what we did to deserve that. It's not going to be acceptable, right? I love you, but I'm going to go over here because I'm not going to deal with this, right? That hurt him. It hurt me. Fine. But that was one of the things that I love you enough to say, I want you to fix this so that way we can maintain this friendship. If you don't, and we both just internalize this, we could walk away from each other and this relationship is over.
Yeah.
Right? The same way that sometimes the most loving thing I could do for someone is to go put them in jail. Right? Because that might be the wake-up call that they need to unfuck their life. Case in point, chick I brought back to life twice from heroin overdose. Now she's a drug and alcohol counselor.
Yeah.
Got contacted by that one female deputy from the agency that got hired way after I retired, figured out who I was, messaged me on Facebook. I arrested a guy like 15 years prior for DUI. And only because of how I treated him over the course of that arrest, he decided that was the day he needed to get sober. He's been sober for 15 years ever since. He wanted her to tell me that
Well, you can definitely treat people good, treat them with respect, and be direct and honest in with an intent to like make things better.
Now, you also said it feels good to be nice to someone. Okay. Have you ever read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover?
Yes, that was from our therapist friend. Was given to me like on day one. He goes, "You need to read this probably twice."
Funny, he told me that too. And I read it twice.
Yeah, right?
Actually, I think I'm on like the 4th time now. But nice guy syndrome, nice girl syndrome, essentially the same thing. It's I'm doing whatever I need to try to keep the peace so that way you just don't have to ever feel bad. At the end of the day, feelings don't fucking matter, right? Your feelings are your problem, not mine, right? And if I'm basing my value in life based on making you feel good, it's pretty shallow, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's where we're trapped. And I think that is the ideology of those types of people, especially like with the immigration stuff right now, right? Or any of the other social issues we got going on right now. I think that right there is like, it is nice guy syndrome thrown into, afterburners and like no sign on easing up on that gas. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the problem, because now we're allowing others to treat us like doormats while making the assumption they did it because they're poor or they're this or they're that or whatever the case may be.
I was just baffled by how rigid their thinking was, that there's only one explanation, that this couldn't be a nuance thing, that the reasons people commit theft, it's like, no, this is the only reason.
Yeah.
And it helps them make the point and like espouse their virtues. And it's like, well, no, there's a lot of other things that go into this.
Okay, so then there was a police lieutenant in this county that got arrested for stealing a tube of KY lube.
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't remember, but man, I like it when you go old days. Like that was like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was, right? But okay, clearly not poor.
No.
At that level, that rank for that agency, I know you're in the mid six figures.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Right.
Even back then.
So take his profession out of it. Not a cop, but still getting six figures, still steals, right? How do you, like, don't you now uniformly have to apply that same standard that, oh, it's because he's poor? You know, I mean, that's making an assumption. He's doing it because he's poor, right? No, he ain't. No, he's doing great.
He's doing it because he doesn't want his missus to find out he's using the
district wife.
Yeah. the shared credit card to buy KY jelly. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, but again, like, you're making an assumption.
Yeah.
What does assuming do? Makes an ass out of you and me, right? So, like, I think it's a very narrow, very low order thinking way of going about things, is to automatically assume, because this is the thing that really pisses a lot of my friends on the left off, right? Is I go, you guys are some of the most racist people ever. And they're like, no, we're not. I was like, really? Because you guys make the assumption that all black and brown people are stupid. They can't access the internet. They don't know how to navigate DMV. They don't know how to, get an ID. They don't know how to get a passport. Nobody knows where their friggin' marriage certificate is or their birth certificate. Shut the fuck up. Like $5 on the internet and I can get that thing sent to me in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Shut up. Right? Like those things, those automatic assumptions, because they fit into this particular demographic, that now they are incompetent, they're poor, they're stupid, they're whatever, or they're incapable in any way, shape, or form, I think is extremely reductionistic. And it reduces people just down to just the color of their skin, which they had zero control over getting anyway. So I think it's a very low order thinking by making those assumptions.
Oh, yeah.
And again, we don't critically think anymore. Why? Because we're constantly fed what to think and how to think it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to just go against these two, because actually the other one said something that I thought was very interesting. I'm not sure if I'm totally on board with it, but I thought it really did deserve like a little bit of a deep dive. Hold on a second here. My dog is trying to choke himself with our microphone wire. Hey,
Come here, goofball. And he's holding on to that cord like.
there we go. All right.
All right, go lay down.
Down.
Okay, no, just go over the cord.
Yeah, it's fine. Good boy. It was along the lines of theft, and what her thought is that the police and in their enforcement of theft are only benefiting the corporate overlords, the big time like retailers. Okay, hold on,
yeah,
because I know exactly where you're going to go, but hear me out in this one a little bit. From a business standpoint, you were a small business owner.
Still am.
Okay. You only do things that generate value, that generate worth, right?
Try to.
You try to, right? Yeah, I mean, there's some things you're not going to be able to control, like you're going to have your sunk costs and stuff like that. But most of your business activities need to have some kind of profit to it.
Correct.
Okay. So let's say you have a box retailer, and you pay this one person that's like going to handle all of your security and just be Superman and do all of it. You're going to pay him $100,000 a year.
Okay.
We're trying to keep our math simple for the both of us mostly.
That's good.
Okay. How much do they need to, how much theft do they need to prevent to justify
That paycheck?
that position? like a metric fucked up.
Yeah.
Because if they save $200,000 in theft, that doesn't mean it's going to sell.
I would go, like, I'm going to play statistics on this one. Like, within statistics, within 5% is a if the numbers are within 5%, right? You have a 95% confidence interval, right? It is basically a valid study. If you're outside of that 5%, no longer a valid study. Okay. I would probably apply that same metric to loss prevention. You can't stop them all.
Yeah.
Right. So I would go with sub 5% loss. I can deal with. We can do insurance on that. That's fine. Beyond that, we're going to have a freaking problem. I would even whittle it probably down to like 3, like probably a 3%, because 3% out of a big box store is going to be a lot of freaking product. Right. So just to be very generous about this, I would say, they have got to retain 97%, and we can deal with up to a 3% loss.
Okay.
Your goal is to mitigate that 3% as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Right. To justify that paycheck.
Yeah, and if you're looking at we're looking at scale, like you're going to come back with $100,000,
Correct.
kind of thing. All right, but that doesn't guarantee that any of that 3% that they actually mitigate is actually going to sell. It's just going to be on the shelf. So then you are spending $100,000 to stop like $40,000 or $50,000 worth of theft, which is not necessarily generating any revenue. It's just limiting a loss a little bit, and you're spending money on top of that. So you're actually throwing away money when you're going to have a certain amount of loss anyway. And the way that I heard about this is one of the retailers down the street that we went to all the time for shoplifting. Their store manager was telling me when it came to Legos, they were having them stolen all the time because what are they, a couple $100 a set of Legos?
Depends on the one. Yeah.
Right. So these highly expensive Legos, he goes, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of them getting stolen. And he locked them up. And what the corporate came back and says, no, unlock them. Because even though they're getting stolen all the time, the profit margins are so high on the ones that we actually sell, and it's easy for people. They don't have to go find a employee. Like, we are making more money.
I've tried
doing that.
Okay, but again, I'm going to use a parallel example here, right? I smack Claudia in the face, right? Lightly, right?
Oh, of course.
At first,
you're
yeah.
But you did it with the best of intent.
At first, right, it's a pop, this, one of these, right? If there's no consequence to that, that pop is going to start turning into a smack. And that smack is going to start turning into a smash, right? That smash is ultimately going to end up turning into someone's heads going through the drywall, right? So, like, there's always going to be again, broken window theory, right? Break one window, then another window, then another window, then there's graffiti, then it's trashed, and, you have zero value whatsoever. So, albeit, like, I understand the profit margins argument and whatnot, simply because my heart is still on the law enforcement side of things, right? I go, well, hold on. There's this cancerous effect that goes with ignoring these little things. And again, attention to detail matters, right? If we don't harp on the little things, right, we're ultimately going to end up having to deal with much bigger things later. If you lock down on the real little things, it's very, like, people don't want to even try the bigger things. For example, in our jail, right, you cannot, like, there's no workout equipment. It's all body weight, right? You cannot use your cell buddy for body weight. So you can't, like, fireman's carry, do squats or lunges or anything like that. You can't have them, like, lay on your back and while you do push-ups. You can't have your feet up on the rack while you're doing decline push-ups. No box jumps on the racks. None of that. Like, we've locked it down so that you are basically restricted to do push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges, right? Burpees, whatever. But you have got to do it on the floor. There's no added equipment. That's it. No buddy workouts, right? Using the body as body weight. So, but by doing that one simple thing, right? How many, like, the number of assaults on officers is exceptionally low in our jail, right? The number of incidents between inmates is exceptionally low in our jail. Go to another jail, right, where they don't harp on those little things, right? They're dealing with far more fights and assaults and staff assaults and escape attempts and you name it. Why? Because those inmates see they're not paying attention to the little things, right? It's the same reason why, like, wearing our uniform appropriately, making sure it's clean, making sure it's pressed, like, especially like when you and I were still on, we were still wearing the grays, right? And we'd switch over to the tans, but creased lines, make sure your gear looks sharp, stuff like that. And they've done studies with convicts, like, which cop would you assault? It's the sloppy one, right? A button's missing, or they're fat, or their gear's all jacked up or scuffed up or whatever, right? They're like, he doesn't pay attention to the little things, so therefore he's probably going to be a great target. He's going to miss all the little things I'm going to do to set this fight up.
Yeah, you're not going to hold your boundaries. You're going to let people push you around.
Right. Same thing. So I understand the plight. It's like, well, we're making their lives worse. Are we making their lives worse? Or are they making their lives worse? Because at what point in time do we finally put the onus on the person who actually committed the problem and not the system that's trying to correct the problem?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Oh. And so I'm going to take it a little bit more down the rabbit hole here. So let's say this big box retailer, instead of having one guy at $100,000, they have like 3 guys or girls at 10 stores at like $40,000, $50,000 a year apiece.
Okay.
And so they're trying to do just their little bit. But what do they do loss prevention wise? They generally don't make any arrests, right? They don't stop anyone. Why not?
Probably because they don't think that it's worth it.
Well, it's not worth it because they are going to open themselves up to a lot of liability.
Personal liability, corporate liability, all the other things.
Yes. She would just like sit still. So there's a metric fuck ton of liability. Right. And so who do they call?
Us.
The police. Now, granted, some of these box retailers, their policy at the time was while the suspect is in the store, they're actively stealing. We're not going to call until after they leave. Why? Because they didn't want to be part of the lawsuit that says you did this because we're of whatever ethnicity.
You're profiling.
Yes, you're profiling. You did this. You called the police, and you shouldn't have. And now I'm hurt because my client resisted the police and got his ass kicked.
Yeah.
So they call the police to handle these thefts, to keep them in making more profit. They invest very little into protecting their own thing. They do the bare minimum. Yeah, we minimize it here, and then we call the police to do the dirty work. And why do the police get to do the dirty work? Well, because the government has money, and they can assume all the risk of somebody getting into a fight, somebody running from the police, or something like that. They're like, well, no, that's a police issue. It's not a corporate issue. And so I was like, you know what? That is an interesting way to look at one of the functions of police. Like when you're dealing with that is like, what kind of accountability do you have? Well, they're not willing to take on the accountability of all the lawsuits of like training to have their own staff to actually physically stop people from stealing because it's not worth it. Like that's bad business.
Right.
Like we're going to limit the losses here where we can. We're going to lose some, and then we are not going to take any.
At the same
liability.
time, if you go into a Target and you know that if you steal something, their guards are probably going to mollywump the crap out of you, what's the likelihood you're going to freaking steal?
Oh, I know. I agree with you.
If you know there's going to be a severe enough consequence, right?
Oh, yeah.
The likelihood of doing that behavior is going to go down.
Well, we used to like just get called of like that store owner threw me out of a store. Why? Well, he said I was stealing. Were you? That doesn't matter. He can't throw me out. Like he can't put his hands on me, bro.
I have rights, bitch. No, you don't even know what your rights are. Shut
he
up.
threw you out instead of you getting arrested. He just threw you out, right? But then you get people that like go and find an attorney like, well, I'm suing because I got thrown out.
It's kind of like those auditors, like, no, this is public property. It's like, no, it's premise open to the public. You tune, like that. You don't know the difference, right? Again, like I could see this scenario a little bit more in context with, say, like a constable's office.
Okay.
So down in the South, they have constables still, like Utah, Utah east and south of there. Like Texas has got a constable's office for pretty much every county, right? Constables are essentially cops for hire. to put it, bluntly.
You mean mercenaries?
Pretty close.
How do I sign up?
Apply.
Okay.
They're legitimate police officers, right? But their sole responsibility is, like patrolling like HOAs and business parks and city parks or county parks and toll roads, stuff like this, right? And so their money comes from these HOAs or these business complexes or whoever basically hires them to be the enforcement mechanism for that business or for that organization or whatever the case may be. Police for hire, I can totally understand this argument being applied to them. Now, up here where we don't have constables and we are the conservators of the peace broadly, and we are state of Oregon certified police officers, so I could arrest somebody in Joseph just the same way I could arrest someone in Beaverton, right? I don't think that this model truly freaking applies. Now, broadly, yes, I can totally see how that makes sense. The corporation is the one who has to make the decision as to whether they want to protect that and then call us or not. Okay. All we are doing is responding to the request for help.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So are we really playing the corporate game? Not really. Like indirectly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like our job is, this is where I think police work, when it gets politicized, it puts us too far into the gray when the law is black and white. The law is very, very simple. And I think this is probably why I understand it a lot easier. Is like, it's simple. Here's your culpable mental state. Here's the elements of that crime. Here's what the punishment is. Every single one of the ORS and like all the other states is written the exact same. Person intentionally, knowingly, recklessly, with criminal negligence does X for, with this other stipulation, with the extreme indifference to value of human life or whatever the case may be, right? Such person who commits said crime has committed a C felony or an A felony, or list it, whatever. Okay. So ours is pretty black and white. When we start drifting into the gray because the agency got politicized in some way, shape, or form, or we are getting influence from the county commission or from the city council or from the state, whatever, right? This is where I think it gets dangerous, and this is where I think we end up playing the corporate game more like constables, right? So I think that I don't agree that we're the corporate enforcement arm. I think that's a byproduct of what we do.
Okay.
And because
so there's a benefit to the corporations because of we're responding to
it's a byproduct of that thing, right?
Yeah.
So the same way as like a byproduct of insurance companies maintaining their profits is us enforcing DUI laws, right? We enforce the DUI laws, catch them before they actually crash into someone or someone else, right? Insurance companies get to keep more of their money. Yeah. If we don't enforce the DUI laws and people start crashing into people and things, right? Insurance rates go way
they're
up.
going to recover their money somehow. Yeah.
Right. Are we intending to protect the insurance companies by enforcing DUI laws? No.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
So, but again, like I understand and I can appreciate her linking those things together.
Yeah.
Because that is probably how the world works. But I don't think that there's any intent behind it. I think it's more byproduct.
Yeah.
It's an unintended thing because all things are connected no matter what we do.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I think with that interconnectedness of all things, that byproduct does help do that. But I don't think that's ever our intent. Because it's not like we're giving favoritism to Target over Walmart. Yeah. We're not giving favoritism to Walmart over Tektronix or Xerox. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Now, one of these gals is from a small business family.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to run this like thought experiment. Like I wouldn't actually do this. Maybe I would someday. Did you ever hear about the guy that like went to Epstein Island? With
Which
attorney?
one?
Well, no, it was an investigative journalist kind of thing. And well, anyway, he goes, I carry around like $10,000 in cash because I know in my course, like I'm probably going to get arrested. I need to post bail.
Oh, fair enough.
And he's got lawyers on retainer kind of thing. I'm like, well, if I won the lottery, cool, I got bail money and I got lawyer money. Maybe I would do this.
There was only one time in my life I carried more than $10,000 in cash, and that was fucking terrifying. So how he does that,
I don't know. But what if I went into her business, used up stuff, her goods and materials, and then just walked out?
Right.
Okay, is she going to stop me? Or any of her employees going to stop me?
No.
Probably not. Are they going to call the police?
Who knows?
Well,
my guess is this: they would. And but this is. There's a comedian who said, people in the Northwest seem to think that they know how everybody else should live their lives, but they don't know how the left lane works, right? Which he's right, and the bit is actually pretty funny, but. This is where I think the mindset of, my morals and my values are objectively true and correct. And then the expectation that everybody else follow that, because without double standards, most people wouldn't have any. And I think that they see it from the biggest box. I think anybody who falls under the socialist, thing they're fueled by jealousy, is they don't like people doing better than them, right? So I think there's a bit of that there, right? Is I don't like these big box stores making more profit than I am, right? And so therefore they can justify calling the cops because I'm just a small business. Target's a big box store; they have money to lose. Okay, some.
Well, I just think it would be really funny to have the cops called, and so I could be on body cameras screaming at her and her family for using
hypocrisy.
Using the police to protect their profits.
100%. Like in all honesty, like I genuinely think that people need to be showed their own double standards. And I recognize that I've had double standards, but I've done all the work I possibly can to recognize when I have a double standard and try to mitigate that. Yeah. Right. Because I don't want to ever be labeled a fucking hypocrite.
Maybe she just assumed that I was drinking their beer because I'm poor.
Yeah, because that's what you need when you're broke.
You don't need it. But sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm going to poison myself today. Just a little bit.
Hey, your choice. But again, it's a choice.
Yes.
Is it a necessity?
There's some days it feels like
it feels like it. Yeah. I mean, I feel the same thing about my joints, but but at the same time, like, am I going to go into Green Planet and jack a bunch of weed? No. Like, okay, I don't have the money for it. I'm probably just going to suffer for a few weeks until my next paycheck comes in. Okay. Like, but that's a me respecting, one, the law, two, respecting that as a small business owner, I know how freaking difficult it is to maintain this. Yeah. Like to have your customer facing side and then to also be behind the scenes trying to manage all of the chaos that goes into this, making sure you have your product, making sure your product is back ordered. So that way you have enough when this one sells out, making sure that you got all the insurance done and all the pay is done and all the employees are getting paid at the right time and the right money. And like, it is so freaking hard. Like it would make most people's heads explode. Oh yeah. And so I can understand that, right? But I think a lot of times we're so self-absorbed that we're not thinking that this is also applied everywhere else, just in different scales. It's kind of like, well, rich people have all these nice lives and stuff. Like, no, they still got problems. Their problems are just different, right? So it's the same thing. Small business, you got problems. Target, you may think they don't have problems because they run...
Oh, they just have problems on a much bigger scale.
Much bigger scale that you're not going to know about because they're better at keeping the fuck quiet about it.
Yeah. Well, what does the Notorious B.I.G. always say?
Well, there's a few things other than...
Mo money, mo problems.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Dude. Right? Yeah, like...
Totally, you're not that much younger than me.
Well, I know, but I was going through all the songs. I'm like... I like it when you call me Big Papa. Like, and like I'm going through all of his songs.
No,
I'm like, what the
you
fuck?
know me. I'm something profound. If I was doing something obscene, I would have been like, "What does Two Live Crew always say?" We're not going there.
Yeah. So I think these people, they just live in a small bubble. And
Yeah.
they're not looking bigger and maybe even trying to understand that they're not the only ones with problems. And yeah, it may seem trivial that at a big box store, these low level priced items getting stolen shouldn't be an issue. I get that thought process. I can understand how you come to that conclusion, and that we need to protect the small business and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. I would love for us to get to a point in life where we promote more small business than the Targets, and like I like how up to this point how New York City did it, where there's bodegas everywhere. They're little family-run bodegas. There's tiny little grocery stores all over the place, right? They're run by families. Love that model, right? Great. It keeps things competitive, keeps prices lower, right? Okay. But, their idea that they shouldn't be stolen from, but the big ones should, like, it's a bit hypocritical to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because at some point in time, because they're big box, like if you spread this one problem, your one little bodega in the hood, right? Yeah, you lose, a couple $100. That's a huge profit loss for you. They lose a couple $100 at one store, not a huge loss. But if you spread that out across the entirety of wherever Target is, that becomes a big fucking problem.
Yeah. The other little thought experiment I had when it comes to like folks like this is like, what if we met them somewhere like a coffee shop and we're doing an interview and like, okay, here's the thought experiment. I would just reach over and I take their cell phone. What cell phones are like all like $1,000 now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've just stolen $1,000 from you.
Okay. What you gonna do?
Yeah. The answer is like nothing. They're not going to get it back from me directly. Are they going to call the cops? Okay, cool. The cops show up and they just give me a ticket. I'm like, all right.
How
And
you
then
feel about that?
I go to their friend and I'm like, and that's mine too.
Yeah.
Here's your ticket. How many tickets until you actually go to jail? I remember like there was times during COVID where we'd see people walking down the street and we know they've got like 3, 4, 5 warrants out for their arrest, but we can't actually arrest them because the warrants are like so low. We can only give them another ticket. And so that becomes like the moral dilemma of like, well, I'm supposed to go and arrest them, but am I really going to go and then chase them? Because then I'm going to chase them and I can't take them to jail anyway. Am I going to go and use force on this person to stop them, to give them a ticket? Nope. I'll just let them stack up more warrants.
This is why politicized policing needs to end. Like the sheriffs and the police chiefs across this country need to have the courage to stand up to the county commissioners or the city mayors or the city councils and go, I get you have your position on this. However, in my position, everything is pretty much black and white. I am not going to play favorites just because you asked me to. I'm not going to overlook things just because you asked me to. When we start abdicating the details, this is when things start to fall apart. I am not about to let this city or this county fall apart because you have now sided with the suspect and now painted them as the victim, right? The law enforcement profession is very, very black and white, and it needs to stay that way. Meaning, here's the law, boom, done. Shut the hell up and enforce it. If you don't like it, as the arrestee or the general public or whatever, cool, vote differently, advocate differently, sue, litigation, have at it. Do those fun things, right, all day long. That's how you guys can make change. I have no problem. Run for office, for Christ's sake. Change the law that way. All right, cool. But, like, trying to add these little shades of gray is like, well, when you get there, now you have got to take into consider their race and their age and their socioeconomic status and what's their education level like and all this other crap. Like, at what point in time do we finally draw a line and go, no?
Yeah. Stealing's bad.
Stealing's bad, assault's bad, driving drunk is bad. Like all those things, they have outward ripple effects. And you're only looking at this tiny, tiny little thing. It's like taking a look at this painting right here, and you're only looking at this one little brush stroke, right? If you're so hyper focused on, say, take this little bottom corner right here where it's all the red, black, and white right there, right? If that's the only thing you're looking at, and I'm like, man, do you see how awesome this painting is? You're like, it looks kind of stupid to me because you're only so hyper focused on that thing. If you zoom the fuck out just a touch, you'll see that that's just an accoutrement to the rest of the painting, right? The same thing applies to the fucking law and the enforcement of it, right? If you're only looking at this tiny little brushstroke, these small groups of people that make the most fucking noise, I call it the screaming 2-year-old theory, right? You ever been to Ringside Steakhouse downtown?
It's been a while.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to find a time and go there again. So, Ringside, beautiful steakhouse, amazing food, very high level, very expensive, as it should be, right?
Yep.
We go in there, we're having our nice dinner, right? Someone comes in and they bring a 2-year-old, and that 2-year-old starts having a shit fit, right? What happens to our dining experience at Ringside?
I'm mad for you right now.
Right. So now we're like, okay, the food probably doesn't taste nearly as good because you're in a shitty mood, right? The conversation, the depth of our conversation is nowhere near where it could be because we're distracted by this little shit, throwing onion rings over here, right? Whatever the case may be. So it is one child in a restaurant of a couple hundred people causing a disturbance, and everybody is now focused on that one little thing, right? Generally, people are decent human beings. What's getting magnified is the screaming 2-year-old is getting magnified. And everybody's going, oh, well, we need to make sure that the 2-year-old is comfortable and safe and stuff like that. It's like, no, how about you smack the little shit and tell him his behavior is not acceptable?
Yeah. Have some good policies like, Casa del Matador downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's great about them?
No kids?
Yeah.
There's a hotel that we like to stay out at the coast that is you have to be 16 or over.
Oh, no. I'm like 25 and older.
Well, I mean, every time we've stayed there, I've never seen a teenager.
Oh, okay.
Like it's always
I guess I
adults.
could deal with like a teenager like that, 16, 17.
Well, every room in there has a hot tub in the room. Overlook, and all the rooms overlook the beach. So like it's a great hotel to go as a couple and stuff like that. You go there. So you walk in, obviously typical hotel setup, right? Walk in, bathroom, right? And then you got bed, and then you got couch, dining table, and then hot tub is on the inside with the big bay window, right? And then you got the door out to your patio. And it's always super quiet. It's always really nice, right? Obviously, sun goes down, you start hearing some weird,
Ghosty shit.
chimpanzee noises and stuff, There's been a couple times it's in there like, man, I don't know if that's abuse or if that's just kink, like it's like walking through the roadway in the middle of the night. It's like,
did she say no or no, don't stop?
yeah, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. Do I go do a welfare check or ever tell you about sharing a room with Joe and lesbians got into a fight in the room across from us? Oceanside PD was like really confused as to why there's 2 guys in their chonies with their badges clipped to their underwear and then the 2 lesbians. He's like, so you 2 are in that room? No, dude, we're here on recall. We're straight as an arrow. He's like, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you go put some pants on and put your badge on your pants this time? Like, that'd be great.
So if we had to have an actual moral of this episode, expand your fucking bubble a little bit.
I think
Zoom out.
I think we all like. I like to say I'm a political orphan. Like I see issues on both sides of the aisles, and both of them are just as treacherous, and they both lie, and they both do the Milgram shit, right? If I say it and I get the news to report it, therefore it must be true, and I know that people are going to buy into it, right? I see it with my conservative friends. I see it with my liberal friends. And I think it's just intellectual laziness that most people are captured by, and they don't realize it. I think that they are intellectually lazy to zoom out a little bit and maybe ask themselves, am I wrong? Is my perspective maybe a little bit wrong on this? Maybe you're not all the way wrong. Maybe you're partially wrong. Maybe you're even a quarter wrong. I don't really give a shit, but there's going to be something in there that is probably not correct. And you've got to be willing to say, all right, if I'm wrong, am I willing to change my mind about this? In light of evidence, right? How do I change my mind about this? This is the beauty of the law, again, is that because it's black and white, right? It is, I present all the evidence, right? This is why the scales of justice are out there, right? Lady Justice is blind. She's got a blindfold on because she doesn't want to know who it is. She doesn't know what they look like. She doesn't want to know their demographics or any of that other crap. And she's holding the scales, right? Prosecution puts all their evidence on one side. Defense puts all their arguments on the other side. And let's see which one weighs out. Pretty black and white, right? We need to get away from this idea that just because my side said it was right, that it must be right. Zoom the fuck out. Look at the entirety of the picture. Maybe go, could we be a little bit wrong in this? We need to do that shit. And I get having compassion and empathy for people. Obviously, it's my whole profession at this point. That does not mean that I then give them free license to do whatever they want simply because I'm being compassionate to it. I still have to hold them accountable in the most loving possible way and tell them, no, you fucked up. And there's going to be a consequence for it. And if I don't do that, I'm perpetuating the fucking problem.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm just feeling really ornery these days, and I think I'm going to go like the 2-year-old defense that they like to use and just scream, check your facts. Check your facts, check your facts, check your facts. No, check your facts!
Check them! This is sometimes I think this is the problem with the kind of the daily mindfulness that I've adopted, is that sometimes you get, well, who is it? Carl Jung said, when you know too much psychology, it's really hard to get mad at people. And that's where I find myself, is I don't really get mad at people anymore. I go, I can understand how you came to that conclusion. You're wrong. And here's a list of reasons why, right? And you're valid in these reasons. But it takes too much energy for me to get all bent out of shape about it anymore, because now I can understand how they got to this position. And I understand the solution is zoom out. The further I've zoomed out, the more I've been able to go, man, this is a fucking mess, right? And then try to come at it as pragmatically as possible. Yeah. Instead of, and I remove my feelings from it, because my feelings don't fucking matter.
Well, it's like, I guess a way that people can practice that is like the mindfulness aspect. Look at yourself from a distance, like sit quietly, notice what comes up. Don't think on it, don't dwell on it, but just notice things. And then you could be like, oh, and when you zoom out from just yourself, you could start noticing these things and be like, oh, I'm going to make some different choices.
Be curious. Be curious about everything and question everything. This is where I think the public schools have gone very wrong, is that if you question something, you get punished for it. You do.
Well, yeah, we're still stuck in that 70s and 80s parenting of why? Because I said so.
Well, yeah. But again, this comes down to a Milgram thing. Anytime one of the participants said, I don't feel comfortable hitting this button, I don't want to hurt this person over there, what did the person in the white lab coat say? Just follow the instructions as you've been given them. And then they reluctantly hit the fucking button, right? And the other guy starts screaming bloody murder on the other side of the wall. Well, we've now gotten to a point where
we're just pressing the button over and over again.
You know what I mean? Like, we're doing it just because someone told us to, and we're not going, can I really trust you? Like, politicians, they end up on TV all the time and stuff like that. Yeah, they got elected. That doesn't mean that they're competent. It doesn't mean that they know what the fuck they're doing. Any of them. I don't care what side of the aisle they are. Like, they're dumbass Republicans, they're dumbass, Democrats, right? I've got my personal opinion on which side has more dummies than the other one, right? But the point is like, they're just people. They put their pants on just like us, and they're going to fuck up just like us. And they have their own motivations just like us. And they have motivations that we're not going to understand just like us. Just like they have traumas that we don't understand. They have other experiences they don't understand. Okay, they're just a fucking human. But we've trusted them with this particular job. I get that.
Well, we trust them and go, well, since we trust you and you're in this higher authority, we just have to go along with whatever you say.
And that's what Stanley Milgram proved, is that, people will just follow orders if they believe it comes from a position of authority, and they don't question it.
Oh, we have a term for this. Sheeple.
Yeah. I don't say that word anymore because I got an SRAM for saying sheeple once.
You said sheeple and you got in trouble for it? Yeah. I'm pretty sure sheeple is a scientific term.
Because I was directing traffic for a Sunday church service. Or an Easter Sunday church service.
Oh, Jesus.
And you know how directing traffic is. Like, if if people want to understand the frustrations of law enforcement, cool, go direct traffic for 20 minutes and you'll see exactly everything you need to know about law enforcement real quick. But I was like, there's a reason they call people the church the flock, because they're just a bunch of sheeple that just walk out in the middle of the road and they don't realize that they're going to get smashed by a car, right? I said something to that effect.
Yeah.
Well, then
Somebody beef you?
Somebody beefed me, who happened to be upstairs as an assistant up in detectives. And that person didn't have access to my Facebook, but they got somebody else who knew they had my Facebook. And I had made that comment 6 months prior. That person dug through my Facebook to then find that and then lodge the complaint. So, but that aside, like after that, I was like, I'm not using sheeple ever again, because
I'll use it for you.
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I'm still a little traumatized. I still don't say certain things that I got written up for. So I can do that now.
I don't think I've gotten in trouble for saying anything like that. Oh, I take that back.
That was the one time I got written up for saying something. The other time they tried to write me up for saying something, I threatened them with a First Amendment lawsuit, and that SRM disappeared real quick. Other times they were just talkings to for saying things that I probably shouldn't have.
Well, like I can understand a talking to, and I've probably gotten a couple of those. Actually, it was more what I didn't say. Like when I gave someone wanted a business card, I just gave them a blank one.
That one, yeah,
stuff like that. But one of these days, like, I guess I did get in trouble for saying something one time, and it's when I tell the whole story, people will be like, "Oh, we know exactly why you said that, and good on you." I actually got people that would be like, tell the lieutenant, "Hey, when you see that man, you give him a fucking hug from me, because that's awesome." And I still got written up for it.
When we hit the power off button, you got to remind me which one that is.
Okay.
Well, I got in trouble for telling someone my badge number was 8675309. Asking a stripper who was telling me she knew what case law was if she was stripping so she could pay for law school.
It's a valid question.
It is.
That was just you being curious.
I was being curious, but apparently that was offensive.
When your curiosity also sounds like you being a smart ass.
There's that, or let's see, what was another one? I was gonna have to work a day shift as a canine handler, so I got up up at 4 a.m. because day shift is 8 hours. We work 10s as canine, right? So I decided to sign on 2 hours before the shift, right? So I sign on. It's 4 a.m. I know nothing's going on in the county, so I'm like making breakfast. And I got all my gear on. Dog's already loaded up and stuff. And then dispatch comes out with a theft now from a vehicle, legitimately around the corner from my house. Like I could walk to it. I did. I went out to my patrol. I was like, 5797, go ahead and show me 97 because that's at my ex, right? And she's like, okay, yeah. And so I walk out, grab my leash, hook him up. I was like, you want to find bad guys? My dog is confused as shit because he's like, we don't find bad guys in this neighborhood. We just go for walks.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, oh, let's go find bad guys. He's like, okay. First off, why are you getting me up this early? Second, why are we getting bad guys in our neighborhood? So we go around the corner, we start the track and all this other crap, end up losing him. And another dog track had come out somewhere else, and it was a higher priority, right? So Brian, actually the same guy that passed away, he went to that one because it was in his town, right? And so everybody else left, so we just canceled the dog track. So I swing by the McDonald's by my house to go grab breakfast before I go into briefing, and I see these two dudes sitting there. I'm like, I think that's my suspects. And so while I'm ordering, I just reach out. I was like, hey, can you send me a couple of units of the McDonald's at this location? I think my suspects are sitting behind me. And two people that I had trained, one of them's detective now. And I think it was when her and her husband, they both work for our agency. Well,
We're going to need to have like a whiteboard off screen so you can write these names down.
I'll tell you names later, but they both show up, right? And so we pull these kids out, and I'm talking to them, and they're getting chippy. Now, they're two dumbass white kids. Like, okay. This one kid goes, I think you're just profiling me. I was like, dude, you're whiter than the driven snow. Shut the fuck up about this, right? And he said something else, smartass, and you know how I do. I just start launching into him, and I just break him down with my words like hard. And so I'm just busting him down for being this entitled little shit and all this other shit. And then I looked down real quick and I noticed his fly is wide open. I was like, by the way, your fly is down. And I walked away. And I think it was Clarissa. She's like, that was the best mic drop I think I've ever seen. Those two kids end up calling. And then by the time I got to dispatch, they're like, did you go harass two kids at McDonald's? I was like, harass is a strong word. Question them about whether they were involved in the theft that I tracked earlier. Uh-huh. That's a little more accurate.
Well, words have meanings.
Yeah, he's like, did you comment on his fly being down? I was like, well, his dick wasn't out, so I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, but I got a little talking to for that one too.
Yeah, that'll happen.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, we all have to zoom out and we have to remove our feelings from it, because it's our feelings that are causing the problems, and because your feelings are just the signals for you whether what you're experiencing is congruent or in contrast with your worldview. And so we've allowed feelings to control everything instead of logic. We're not looking at the logic of the damage that the thefts are causing. We're not looking at the logic of the damage that unmitigated, undocumented immigration is causing. We're not looking at the damage that, I could list off more social issues, right? Mm-hmm. We're so concerned about the feelings of it that we're not looking at the logic of it. And this is what's causing a lot of our problems. And I don't think it needs to be that way. I think if we zoom out a little bit, remove the feelings, all of a sudden we could get back to arresting everybody for the simple purpose that if we ignore the little things, the bigger things become bigger. And then it's uncontrollable at that point.
I agree.
Okay.
Until next time.
Until next time.